everyone, welcome to chapter 2. In this chapter, we are going to actually learn how to build a web page template with HTML5. So let's go over some of the objectives that you're going to have for this chapter. After you finish this chapter, these are some things that you have to kind of accomplish. By the end of this chapter, you will be able to explain how to manage a website files. Also, you should be able to describe what is the HTML template and how to use the semantic elements. Also, you should determine the elements to use when setting up the structure of a web page. Also, you should be able to design and build a semantic wireframe and create a web page template. Also, you should be able to learn how to insert comments into a HTML document. You should also be able to add static content to a web page template. Also, you should learn to insert symbol codes and other characters entities as well. You should also be able to describe the benefit of validating a web document. Also, validate your HTML template and create a home page from that HTML template that you have created. Also, you should be able to add some unique content to your web page. So these are some of the basic objectives for this chapter. Now let's begin this chapter by talking about designing a website. Building a website from scratch, it takes a long time of planning actually. So before you can even build your website and start coding, you need to have a plan. So a lot of web designers, they have their own business, and they can basically provide some service on contract to their clients. Sometimes those clients are people, or sometimes they are businesses that they want a website, or they want to revamp their website or redesign their website basically. Some other web designers, they work in a very big corporations, and they provide to the people to that corporations. So these when you are providing a service to those people are called stakeholders. So when we want to start building a website, we must plan it, which this could include meeting with the clients or a stakeholder to discuss their needs and maybe understand the purpose of the website, maybe understand the target audience. And after we develop a site, we can start constructing the website by creating the HTML documents and then adding the required HTML elements so that the visitor display the web page in a web browser. So the initial HTML document that we create can serve as a template for the site. So basically, when we are designing the website, we need to think about planning, understanding the purpose, understanding who are the target audience, creating a sitemap, and then finding our graphics, colors, and also determining whether we want to design for an optimal viewing across the range of devices. So we have to test it on various devices as well. So as we said, a template is a predefined web page that can contain a specific HTML structure that can be actually used by all the pages within the website. So in this chapter, we focus more on how to build that web page template with HTML5 elements. So these are some of the, this is basically a designing plan for a fitness club. So basically, the business owner, they want a website to showcase their club equipment, the group fitness classes, the nutritional information, and some contact information. So basically, this chapter, like when you look at this chapter in your book, you will see that the focus is basically to creating a website for this type of a business. So some of the questions that we need to come up with is basically some of those questions that we just talked about. What is the purpose of the website? Basically, the purpose of the website is to promote fitness service and gain new clients. Who are the target audience? The Forward Fitness Club customers are adults between ages of 18 and 50. And then multi-platform display. Yes, they want to use it in the smartphone, tablet, and so on. And then, so we talk about the wireframe and sitemap. So the initial website consists of 5 pages in a hierarchical structure with links to the home page on every page. So every page will include a header area, navigation area, main content, and footer area. Remember, you are actually sitting down with the customer and getting these information and ask about them. So, for example, in your home page, you want basically a header appear at the top. You want the navigation area. So you talk about what menu items you want on the navigation area, and then you talk about what type of a footer area, what you want to appear on the footer area. And then of course we talk about the graphics. Maybe they need to have a logo, and then maybe they need to have a photo of facility. And then we talk about the color scheme that they want to have. Based on the meaning of the colors, we can talk to them about that. So they want to use green and yellow to promote health, strength, and the bright future. So that's the color scheme that they want to choose based on, the meaning of the colors that we just talked about in the previous chapter. And then the typography to make the content easy to the readers. Also, we talk about the accessibility, some of the standards that you might want to talk about that accessibility. These are it needs to be provided. We talk about sitemap. As maybe you recall from a previous chapter, sitemap can indicate how the pages in a website they can actually relate to each other. To create something like a sitemap, we have to first know how many pages we want in our website. So, for example, the owner of this Forward Fitness Club, they want to ask them how many pages do they want to have. So maybe they come up with 5 pages. The home page, maybe about us, maybe classes, maybe nutrition, and contact us. So, and each of them will have different information on it. So the home page introduces the mission statement. About us, maybe it talks about the services that they offer. The class page includes a schedule. Maybe the nutrition page provides nutrition tips, and then contact us provide like a physical address, maybe a phone number, email address, and so on. And this would look like the sitemap that you can design for them would look like something like that. So this is the sitemap is an important part of your planning. So in your project, I'm going to ask you guys to, create a website. So you need to think about all these steps, and you need to provide me with all these steps. The steps of a plan to create that website. That is important. The planning part is as important part as the coding part of it. In addition to basically sitemap, we want to sketch out a web page wireframe as well. Also, if you remember from the wireframe from the previous chapter, basically it is depicted the layout of a web page that could include the major content of it. So these are basically the sections that you're going to have. So you want to have a header at the top of the page that identifies basically what this website is about. Sometimes you put the business name or logo maybe. And then you're going to have, basically you want to have like some kind of easy navigation. So each page might have like this horizontal line there. And then you're going to have your main page, and then you're going to have like your images, your paragraphs. Maybe you want to have a list of items in there, and then you want to have your footer section that has copyright information and email address. So this is basically the wireframe which you want to create after the sitemap. And this is kind of like a format that a lot of web pages might have. But there are a lot of, if you use WordPress or if you use any other web page development tools, they all have different templates that you can actually design. The next thing that we will talk about is the file management part. So normally in a website, we use several types of files, such as HTML file, maybe image file, audio file, video file. Also, we will learn about CSS, which you've learned a little bit, those CSS files. So even in a simple website, we might actually have hundreds of files. So each file, you need to kind of follow a systematic method to organize the files. So before you create your first HTML, create folders and subfolders and organize your website. This is very important. So we need to actually, even before designing, you need to remember that each website, even if it's not big, will contain CSS files, image files, media files, template files, HTML files, or so on. So you need to create folders and subfolders. The main folder is called root folders that can contain all the files and other folders of the websites. So this is how it's going to look like. So the main folder, or we can sometimes call it the root folder, is basically the fitness folder. And then that will contain all the other files and folders. So you have subfolders such as CSS files, image files, media, and template. So the template folder contains the template document for the site web pages, which we will create this in this chapter as well. So normally we begin a new HTML document by adding some basic required HTML elements to it, such as maybe the HTML tag, the header tag, maybe the body tag, and all that. In HTML4, we introduce the div element with the basically the div tag, which can divide the page into separate sections. So each div element has a unique name, and we need to distinguish it from the other div elements. But in HTML5, basically it has transformed and improved new website development with some new semantic elements with some standardized names. So in this table, you can see a list of common HTML5 semantic elements. The name of each tag can reflect the purpose of each element that we can have. Such as when we use footer element, we can display the content at the bottom of our web page. So, and then when you use the header, indicates the header information on the web page. Header content typically consists of a business name or logo, and so on. Sometimes web designers, they have a debate between whether they want to use the div element or the main element to define the main content of a web page. So sometimes if you have an old web page that you need to kind of add new sites, or maybe you need to redesign it, and maybe it's better to use those div elements. But if it's a totally new website, maybe it's better to use the main elements from this HTML5, because you know, it doesn't have to incorporate web pages that have created from the earlier versions. So it's better to use the new HTML5 structural element, which includes the header, nav, main, and footer, to you know, show our web pages. So the div element achieved the same result in the layout. The future of the web development will include the HTML5 layout tag. So I would recommend you guys to actually use these tags rather than div. I mean, if you are actually creating something new, it's better to use this. Also, you want to make sure that the major browser are supporting these HTML5 elements. Currently Internet Explorer 11 or earlier, it doesn't support fully supported, but you can go to a web page that's called I think it is in your book, I forgot, but it is called html5rocks.com, and it can actually provide some link to several HTML resources and talk about, the browser support for specific elements. So when you are looking at this, again, we have to put the basic required HTML, and then we need to have the header element, which defines the header area of the web page. And then we have the navigation element, which define the navigation area of the web page. So as you can see, it starts with the nav tag and you need to end it. So remember, you have to end all of these tags. And then the next one would be the main element structure that define the main content of a web page. The main element also starts with main tag and you need to close it with the main tag. And then you will have a footer element, which define the bottom or the footer area of the web page, and that could include maybe the copyright information or things like that. And then again, you need to close your body and you need to close the HTML. That's also a required basic HTML that you need to follow. So you need to put that at the end of your tag. So this could include your HTML template. So this is the structure that your HTML template will have. In the next video, we will start talking about how to create a web page template. Okay, take care for now. Bye-bye.